Hello everyone, my name is Amara Okafor. If you like family drama stories that end with justice being served, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more true life experiences. What I'm about to tell you happened just 8 months ago, but it feels like a lifetime has passed since that day I pressed play on the video that would change our family forever. I caught my son-in-law, Marcus, kissing my younger daughter Zara at their family home while my pregnant eldest daughter Naya was sleeping upstairs. My hand trembled as I watched the video on my phone. Footage from the security camera I had installed just 3 days earlier, when I noticed something wasn't right in their marriage. The betrayal cut through me like a knife. Marcus, who had sworn to love and cherish my Naya, locked in a passionate embrace with her own sister, while my grandchild grew in Nia's womb. For 6 years I had welcomed Marcus into our family. I had defended him when others questioned his intentions. I had given them $45,000 for a down payment on their beautiful home. I had spent countless hours helping them renovate that house where the betrayal took place. Now I held evidence that would destroy not just a marriage, but an entire family. And the worst part? The baby shower was in 2 days, with 80 guests already confirmed. Before I tell you how everything fell apart, let me take you back to how our family used to be. I'm a 47-year-old high school principal from a close-knit Nigerian-American family. My late husband Chidi died from cancer 10 years ago, leaving me to raise our 2 daughters alone. Nia, my eldest at 29, had always been the responsible one, studious, careful, and kind. Zara, 26, was the opposite, adventurous, impulsive, and always craving attention. After Chidi passed, I poured everything into giving my girls a good life. I worked extra hours to put them both through college. When they graduated, I helped them with apartments, cars, job connections, anything to make sure they succeeded. My friends often told me I was too generous, but what else could I do? They were all I had left of Chidi. 6 years ago, Nia brought home Marcus Johnson, a charming marketing executive with ambitious plans. He was handsome, educated, and seemed to adore my daughter. I welcomed him immediately. When they got engaged after just 8 months of dating, I organized and paid for most of their $30,000 wedding. When they struggled to find a house they could afford, I withdrew $45,000 from my retirement savings for their down payment. I wanted Nia to have the stability I had enjoyed with her father. For their first anniversary, I helped Marcus secure a job at my friend's marketing firm when he was between positions. For their 3rd anniversary, I paid $12,000 to renovate their kitchen. Last year, I gave them $8,000 to replace their roof. All in all, I had invested over $95,000 in their life together, not counting the countless dinners, gifts, and help with bills during tight months. Our Sunday family dinners were sacred. Every week, both my daughters and Marcus would come to my house for traditional Nigerian dishes I spent all day preparing. Sometimes Zara brought dates, but they never lasted long. Marcus always complimented my cooking, always helped with dishes, always kissed my cheek when they left. "You're the best mother-in-law a man could ask for," he would say, and I believed him. When Nia announced her pregnancy 6 months ago, I cried with joy. My first grandchild! I immediately started buying baby clothes, researching the safest cribs, and planning the most beautiful baby shower any mother could give. I spent $5,000 on the shower alone, renting a gorgeous venue, ordering custom decorations in soft yellow and green. They wanted the gender to be a surprise, and ordering catering from the best restaurant in town. Our life wasn't perfect, but it was good, stable, loving, or so I thought. The first hint that something was wrong came 3 weeks before the baby shower. I was at Nia and Marcus's house, helping my daughter organize the nursery. Nia, now 7 months pregnant, had gone upstairs for a nap. The pregnancy was taking a toll on her energy levels. I was folding tiny onesies when Marcus's phone buzzed on the counter. I didn't mean to look, but the message preview caught my eye. Still thinking about last night. "Can't wait to see you again. Delete this." The message was from someone saved simply as Z. I looked away quickly, my heart suddenly racing. It wasn't my business to snoop through my son-in-law's phone. Maybe it was work-related. Maybe it was an inside joke. Maybe it was nothing. But deep down, I knew it was something. That evening, when Zara came over for dinner, I noticed she seemed unusually interested in Marcus's stories about work. She laughed too loudly at his jokes. Their eyes lingered on each other a second too long when they thought no one was watching. Z could stand for many names, I told myself. But in our family, it only stood for one. The next day, I called Zara for our usual weekly catch-up. "How's work going?" I asked casually, referring to her job as the event coordinator. "Busy as always, Mom. Planning 3 weddings this month." "And how's your love life? Anyone special?" I probed gently. She hesitated. Just a fraction of a second, but I caught it. "Nothing serious. You know how it is. Dating apps are the worst." But there was something in her voice, a nervous energy I hadn't heard before. That Sunday dinner, I watched them closely. Marcus arrived 15 minutes before Nia, claiming he had been running errands. Zara arrived 5 minutes after him, her hair slightly disheveled, wearing more makeup than usual for a family dinner. When Nia mentioned feeling the baby kick, Marcus placed his hand on her belly with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Zara excused herself to the bathroom and stayed there longer than necessary. Small things. Tiny cracks in the perfect picture. But as an educator for 25 years, I had developed a sixth sense for when people were hiding something. After dinner, as they were leaving, I heard Marcus whisper something to Zara by the door when Nia was getting her coat. I couldn't make out the words, but the intimacy of the gesture made my stomach turn. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the message, about the whispers, about the way they looked at each other. Was I imagining things? Was I being paranoid? Or was my younger daughter having an affair with my older daughter's husband? The thought was too horrible to contemplate, but too persistent to ignore. I am not a person who jumps to conclusions. As a school principal, I've learned to gather evidence before making accusations. So I decided to investigate further before confronting anyone. 3 days before the baby shower, I went to Nia and Marcus's house with the excuse of dropping off some baby gifts. Nia was at a doctor's appointment, but Marcus was working from home. Perfect. "I brought a few more things for the nursery," I said, holding up a bag of baby clothes. "You're too generous, Amara," Marcus said, letting me in. "Nia's not here, but you can put them upstairs." "Actually," I said, pulling out a small box from my purse, "I also brought this security camera. With the baby coming, I thought you might want some extra security around the house. It connects to your phone so you can check on the nursery from anywhere." It wasn't a complete lie. I had indeed bought the camera, a small, inconspicuous device that could be placed anywhere and accessed remotely. But my intentions weren't purely about the baby's safety. Marcus seemed slightly uncomfortable, but accepted it with a smile. "That's thoughtful. I'll set it up later." "No need," I said quickly. "It only takes a minute. Why don't I install it now? Consider it my little project." Before he could object, I moved toward the living room, which had a clear view of the front door and part of the kitchen, areas where people would naturally gather. I placed the camera on a bookshelf, angled just right, and connected it to my phone. "There," I said, showing him how it worked. "Now you and Nia can have peace of mind. The app lets you see what's happening anytime." What I didn't tell him was that I had already set it up with my email address as the primary account. Marcus thanked me, seeming eager for me to leave. As I walked to my car, I noticed Zara's familiar blue sedan parked just around the corner. My heart sank. That night, I checked the camera feed obsessively. Nothing unusual happened. Marcus watched TV, did some work on his laptop, and went to bed when Nia came home. The next day was the same. Normal household activities, nothing suspicious. But on the day before the baby shower, everything changed. I was reviewing some school budget documents when a motion alert came from the camera. I opened the app and saw Zara entering the house. Marcus greeted her with a hug that lasted too long. They talked in low voices I couldn't quite hear. Then, with Nia supposedly napping upstairs, they moved to the kitchen. The angle wasn't perfect, but I could see enough. Their conversation grew more intimate. He touched her face. She leaned into him. And then they kissed. Not a brotherly peck on the cheek, but a passionate, hungry kiss between lovers. My hand shook as I watched my younger daughter betraying her sister in the worst possible way. I felt sick, dizzy with shock and rage. I recorded the video, my finger trembling over the screen. They pulled apart after a minute, looking around guiltily. Zara said something about telling Nia after the baby comes, and not wanting to stress her now. Marcus nodded, stroking her hair in a way that suggested this wasn't their first intimate encounter. I stopped the recording, my decision made in that terrible moment. The baby shower was tomorrow. 80 guests, family, friends, colleagues, would be there to celebrate my daughter and her growing family. The decorations were hung, the cake was ordered, the gifts were wrapped, and I had just discovered that it was all built on a lie. I spent the rest of the day in a daze, alternating between crushing grief and burning anger. Should I tell Nia privately? Confront Marcus and Zara first? Cancel the shower? Every option seemed impossible. By evening, I knew what I had to do. Sometimes justice needs an audience. I transferred the video to a USB drive, then called the venue to make sure they had audio-visual equipment available. Just want to show a special slideshow for the parents-to-be, I explained. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept thinking about the $95,000 I had invested in a marriage that was already falling apart, about my pregnant daughter, glowing with happiness, unaware of the betrayal, about my younger daughter, who I had raised to be better than this. The shower was at 2 p.m. I arrived at noon to help set up, the USB drive heavy in my purse like a live grenade. The morning of the baby shower, I woke up with a sense of purpose unlike anything I had felt since Chidi died. This wasn't just about exposing a betrayal. It was about protecting my daughter Nia and my unborn grandchild from living a lie. But first, I needed to be absolutely certain about what I had seen. The video was damning, but I needed to understand the full extent of this affair. How long had it been going on? Was it just a one-time mistake or something deeper? I needed context before I pressed play on that video in front of 80 guests. I called my closest friend, Esther, who had known my daughter since they were children. I need to talk to you before the shower, I said, my voice strained. It's urgent. Esther came to my house immediately. When I showed her the video, her hand flew to her mouth in shock. Oh, Amara, she whispered. How could they? I don't know, I said, my voice hollow. But I need to find out more before I do anything. Did you ever notice anything between them? Any signs I missed? Esther hesitated. There was one time at your birthday party 3 months ago. I went to get my coat from the guest room and found them having what looked like a very intense conversation. They jumped apart when I walked in. I thought it was odd, but didn't think much of it then. My mind raced back to that party. Nia had just announced her pregnancy to our extended family. While everyone was celebrating, Zara had seemed oddly withdrawn. I had assumed she was jealous of the attention Nia was receiving, a familiar dynamic between sisters. Now I understood it was something far worse. I need to check something, I said, pulling out my laptop. I managed the family's shared cloud storage account, a place where we backed up photos and important documents. I had set it up years ago to preserve family memories. I logged in and went to Zara's folder. Nothing unusual in the main directory, just work documents and photos from trips. But then I noticed a folder labeled simply M, tucked inside another folder of work projects. My hands trembled as I clicked on it. Inside were dozens of photos, Marcus and Zara together in places I didn't recognize. At a restaurant with candlelit dinner, on what looked like a weekend trip to a cabin. Selfies of them kissing, clearly not for family viewing. The timestamps showed the oldest photos were from over a year ago. 1 year, I whispered. They'd been doing this for at least a year. While Nia was trying to get pregnant, while I was giving them money for house repairs. Then I found a document, a draft email never sent. I opened it, my vision blurring with tears as I read, I know we said we'd wait until after the baby, but I don't know if I can keep pretending. Every Sunday dinner feels like torture. Watching you with her, knowing you wish it was me. You said you'd leave after the baby comes. But what if you change your mind? What if seeing your child makes you want to stay with her? I'm tired of being the secret. I'm tired of sharing you. We need to tell them soon. Mom will be devastated, but she'll forgive us eventually. Nia will never forgive us, but maybe that's the price we pay for love. I can't be the other woman anymore, not even to my sister. A wave of nausea hit me. They had been planning this, waiting until after my grandchild was born to blow up the family, using Nia as an incubator for their future family. I closed the laptop, my decision crystallizing. I'm going through with it, I told Esther. They don't deserve a private confrontation. They've been deceiving all of us for a year. But Amara, Esther cautioned, think about Nia. Finding out like this, in front of everyone. Nia deserves to know the truth before she brings a child into this marriage, I said firmly. And I've spent nearly $100,000 supporting their life together. Money I took from my retirement fund, from the savings meant to secure my future. They've been laughing at us for a year. I checked the time. 11:30 a.m. The shower was in 2.5 hours. Let's go, I said, picking up my purse with the USB drive. I have a baby shower to host. At the venue, a beautiful garden restaurant I had rented out for the occasion. Everything looked perfect. Yellow and green balloons floated over tables adorned with fresh flowers. A banner reading "Welcome Baby Johnson" hung across one wall. A table piled with wrapped gifts stood ready to receive more. The caterers were setting up a lavish spread, and the 3-tier cake decorated with tiny baby shoes awaited its moment. I checked the AV equipment twice, making sure the projector and sound system were working perfectly. The venue coordinator gave me odd looks as I insisted on testing everything myself, but I didn't care. Guests began arriving at 1:30. Family members, colleagues, neighbors, friends from church, all smiling, bearing gifts, excited to celebrate new life. If only they knew what kind of event they were actually attending. At 1:45, Marcus arrived, looking handsome in a light blue button-down shirt and khaki pants. He kissed my cheek as always. Everything looks amazing, Amara. You've outdone yourself. I forced a smile, feeling his kiss like acid on my skin. Only the best for family, right? At 1:55, Zara arrived, wearing a floral dress that highlighted her figure. She hugged me tightly. Mom, this is gorgeous. Nia is going to be so touched. I hugged her back mechanically, wondering how she could look me in the eye. At exactly 2 measured, Nia waddled in, radiant in a yellow maternity dress that matched the decorations. Her hand rested protectively on her rounded belly, her face glowing with the special light of impending motherhood. The guests burst into applause at her arrival, and I saw tears of joy in her eyes as she surveyed the scene. Mom, she gasped, hugging me awkwardly around her belly. This is too much. It's perfect. For a moment, looking at her happiness, I faltered. Was I doing the right thing? Should I find another way? Then I caught Marcus glancing at Zara across the room, a secret look passing between them, and my resolve hardened. No, Nia deserved to know exactly who she was married to before she brought a child into this world. The first hour of the shower proceeded according to plan. Guests ate, chatted, and participated in silly baby games. Nia opened a few gifts. The mommy-to-be sash around her shoulder caught the light as she laughed at a particularly cute onesie from a co-worker. At 3:15, I clinked my glass for attention. The room quieted as everyone turned to me, smiling expectantly, ready for what they assumed would be a touching speech from the grandmother-to-be. Thank you all for coming today to celebrate Nia, Marcus, and their baby, I began, my voice steadier than I expected. As many of you know, family means everything to me. When Chidi died 10 years ago, I dedicated my life to giving my daughters the best future possible. Appreciative nods around the room. Nia smiled at me from her seat of honor, Marcus standing proudly behind her with his hand on her shoulder. I've always believed in investing in family, I continued. In fact, I've invested quite a lot in Nia and Marcus's marriage. $45,000 for their house down payment, $12,000 for their kitchen renovation, $8,000 for a new roof last year. Not to mention the wedding, the countless dinners, the baby furniture. A slight murmur rippled through the crowd. This wasn't the usual baby shower speech. Marcus's smile faltered slightly. All told, about $95,000 from my retirement savings, I said, my voice hardening. Money well spent for my daughter's happiness, I thought. Nia looked confused now. Mom, what are you... But recently, I continued, picking up the remote control, I discovered that my investment was based on a lie. I pressed play. The large projection screen that had been displaying a slideshow of Nia's baby bump photos suddenly switched to the security camera footage from their living room. The room fell, absolutely silent as the video began to play, the timestamp clearly visible. Marcus and Zara entering the frame. Their intimate conversation, the passionate kiss. Their whispered plans about telling Nia after the baby comes, Someone gasped. Someone else muttered, "Oh my God." Nia's face drained of all color as she stared at the screen, one hand rising to her mouth in horror, the other still resting on her belly. I let the video play for 30 seconds, long enough for there to be no doubt, no possibility of misinterpretation. Then I paused it on a clear frame of them embracing. "This was recorded yesterday," I said into the shocked silence. "But as I discovered this morning, their affair has been going on for over a year. While Nia was trying to get pregnant, while I was giving them money for their house, while we all welcomed Marcus's family." I turned to face my daughter, whose whole body had begun to tremble. "Nia, I'm so sorry to do it this way, but you deserve to know the truth before you bring your child into this marriage." The room erupted into chaos the moment I finished speaking. Nia let out a wail that seemed to come from the depths of her soul, a primal sound of pain that cut through the shocked murmurs of the guests. She lurched to her feet, nearly knocking over the chair behind her. "Is this real?" she screamed, looking from Marcus to Zara to the frozen image on the screen. "Tell me this isn't real." Marcus stepped forward, his face ashen. "Nia, baby, I can explain." "Explain?" Nia's voice rose hysterically. "Explain what? Explain how you've been sleeping with my sister while I'm carrying your child?" Zara stood frozen by the gift table, tears streaming down her face. "Nia, please, we never meant to hurt you. You're my sister!" Nia shrieked, her whole body shaking. "My sister." The guests were in various states of shock, some staring open-mouthed, others whispering frantically, a few discreetly taking out phones. My friend Esther had moved to Nia's side, trying to calm her, concerned about the baby. "Amara, what the hell?" Marcus finally turned to me, anger replacing his initial shock. "You set up a camera in our house? You spied on us? And then you do this? In front of everyone?" His attempt to shift blame made my blood boil. "Don't you dare try to make me the villain here," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You've been cheating on my pregnant daughter with her own sister. In the house I helped pay for, planning to leave her after she gives birth to your child." Several of Marcus's family members had moved toward him, including his mother, who looked like she might faint from shame. "Marcus, tell me this isn't true," she pleaded, but the evidence was undeniable, still frozen on the screen behind us. Nia suddenly doubled over, clutching her stomach. "Oh God," she gasped. "Something's wrong." The baby, everything shifted in an instant. The drama of the revelation gave way to urgent concern. Esther called out, "She needs an ambulance." I rushed to Nia's side, helping her to a chair, my heart racing with fear. Had I gone too far? Had my need for justice put my daughter and grandchild at risk? "I'm calling 911, someone said. Others cleared space. Someone else brought water. Marcus tried to approach, but I blocked his path. "Stay away from her," I hissed. "She's my wife," he protested. "That's my baby. The wife you've been betraying? The baby you were planning to abandon?" I was practically spitting the words at him. The paramedics arrived within minutes, though it felt like hours. They quickly assessed Nia, whose pain seemed to be intensifying. "We need to transport her," one said. "Her blood pressure is dangerously high, and she's showing signs of premature labor." As they prepared to move her to the stretcher, Nia grabbed my hand. "Mom," she whispered, her face contorted in pain. "Come with me. Please." "I'm right here, baby," I assured her. "I'm not leaving you." As we moved toward the ambulance, I saw Marcus and Zara standing apart from the crowd, both looking shell-shocked. The gathering had devolved into small clusters of people talking urgently, some openly crying, others looking uncomfortable about witnessing such an intimate family implosion. "I'll handle things here," Esther told me. "You go with Nia." The ride to the hospital was tense. The paramedics worked efficiently while I held Nia's hand, murmuring reassurances. Between waves of pain, Nia kept repeating, "How could they? How could they do this to me?" I had no answers that could ease her pain. Neither the physical agony of potential premature labor, nor the emotional devastation of dual betrayal. At the hospital, things moved quickly. The doctors administered medication to stop the contractions and monitored the baby's heartbeat. "We need to keep her calm," the doctor told me privately. "Stress at this level is dangerous for both mother and child." I nodded, guilt washing over me. In my determination to expose the truth, had I chosen the worst possible moment? But what was the right moment to tell your daughter that her husband and sister were having an affair? After several hours, the doctors managed to stabilize Nia's condition. She's out of immediate danger, the doctor explained. But she needs complete bed rest for at least a week. No stress, no excitement. The next 48 hours are critical. I sat by Nia's bedside as she drifted in and out of sleep, sedated by the medication. Her face, even in sleep, bore the marks of profound grief. Occasionally she would stir and whisper, "Why, Mom? Why, Zara? Why did you show everyone?" Each question pierced my heart. I had exposed the betrayal, yes, but at what cost? The humiliation had been public. The fallout would be extensive, and my grandchild had almost paid the ultimate price. Around midnight, a nurse informed me that Marcus was in the waiting room, demanding to see his wife. "She's sleeping," I said firmly, "and she shouldn't be stressed. Tell him to leave." But an hour later, the same nurse returned. "I'm sorry, but he's insisting. He says he has a right to see her and the baby." I stepped into the hallway, closing Nia's door behind me. Marcus looked terrible, his clothes disheveled, his eyes red from what appeared to be tears. "You can't keep me from my wife," he said, his voice hoarse. "Your wife?" I repeated incredulously. "The one you've been betraying for a year? The one who's fighting to keep your baby safe after the shock you and Zara put her through?" "You caused this," he hissed. "You and your dramatic reveal. You could have talked to us privately. You could have given us a chance to explain." "Explain what? That you've been having an affair with her sister? That you were planning to leave her after the baby was born? Please, enlighten me about what explanation would make this acceptable." Marcus ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. "It's complicated. Zara and I, it wasn't supposed to happen. We fought it for a long time, but there's something real between us." "Something real?" I repeated, disgusted. "You're married to Nia. You made vows. She's carrying your child. That's what's real." "I know I've made mistakes," he admitted. "Terrible ones. But I still have a right to see my child, to make sure they're both okay." "The doctor says Nia needs rest and zero stress," I said firmly. "You are the definition of stress right now. So no, you don't get to see her tonight. And whether you ever get to see her or the baby again will be entirely up to her." I turned to go back to Nia's room, but Marcus grabbed my arm. "This isn't over, Amara. You had no right to humiliate us like that, to spy on us in our own home." I jerked my arm away from him. "That home exists because of my money. Money you and Zara were happy to take while betraying my daughter behind her back. Consider yourselves lucky that public humiliation is all you're facing. Now leave before I call security." He stared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked away. When I returned to Nia's room, I found her awake, tears silently streaming down her face. "I heard," she said quietly. "Marcus was here?" I nodded, taking her hand. "I sent him away. You need rest." "Mom," she whispered, "why did you show everyone the video? Why not just tell me privately?" The question I had been dreading. I sat on the edge of her bed, choosing my words carefully. "Because they were planning to wait until after the baby was born to tell you. They were using you, Nia. Using your body to have the baby they wanted, then planning to leave you. I couldn't let that happen." "But everyone saw," she said, fresh tears falling. "Everyone at work? Our neighbors, the church members. Everyone knows my husband and sister betrayed me. Everyone also knows it wasn't your fault," I said gently. "No one blames you, and everyone will support you through this." She was quiet for a moment. "Have you heard from Zara?" I shook my head. "No, and I don't expect to." "I keep thinking this is a nightmare I'll wake up from," Nia said, her voice breaking. "How am I supposed to raise a baby alone? How am I supposed to ever trust anyone again?" "You're not alone," I promised her. "You have me, always. And we'll figure out the rest together, one day at a time." She nodded, exhaustion overtaking her again. As she drifted back to sleep, I sat in the dim hospital room, wondering if justice served in anger could ever truly heal the wounds it exposed. The next morning, my phone was flooded with messages. Friends, family, and even a few strangers who had apparently heard about the dramatic baby shower confrontation. News travels fast in our community. Most expressed shock and support for Nia. A few questioned my methods, suggesting a private confrontation would have been kinder. No one defended Marcus and Zara. Around noon, as Nia was being examined by the doctor, I stepped out to get some coffee and found Esther waiting for me in the hospital cafeteria. "How is she?" Esther asked immediately. "Physically stable," I said. "Emotionally devastated. The doctor wants her on bed rest for at least a week." Esther nodded sympathetically. "And how are you holding up?" I hadn't really considered my own state. "I don't know," I admitted. "I'm angry. I'm heartbroken for Nia. I'm worried about the baby. And I'm questioning if I did the right thing." "You did what you thought was best," Esther said, squeezing my hand. "No one can fault you for that. But the way I did it... Was it too harsh? Too public?" Esther considered this. "Maybe, but think about it this way. If you had told Nia privately, would she have believed you? Or would Marcus and Zara have spun some story, made you look like the villain, convinced her it was a misunderstanding?" She had a point. The video evidence presented publicly had been undeniable. There had been no room for manipulation or gaslighting. "There's something else you should know," Esther said hesitantly. "Zara tried to come to the hospital last night. Security turned her away based on your instructions." A fresh wave of anger washed over me. "Good. She has no business being here." She was crying, Amara, really broken up. She kept saying she needed to explain to Naya that it wasn't what it looked like. I snorted in disbelief. "We all saw the video. We all saw their plans to wait until after the baby. What other explanation could there possibly be?" Esther sighed. "I'm not defending her. What they did was inexcusable. I'm just letting you know she was here." As I sipped my coffee, my phone rang. An unfamiliar number. I almost declined it, but something made me answer. "Mrs. Okafor?" A man's voice I didn't recognize. "This is Richard Benson. I'm an attorney representing Marcus Johnson." My blood ran cold. "What do you want?" "Mr. Johnson has instructed me to inform you that he considers your actions yesterday, specifically the installation of a hidden camera in his home without his knowledge, and the public display of private footage, to be a violation of his privacy rights. He's considering legal action." I laughed bitterly. "Is he really? Tell Mr. Johnson that if he wants to take me to court and explain to a judge why he was kissing his pregnant wife's sister in their living room, he's welcome to try. There's also the matter of the financial support you mentioned publicly." The lawyer continued smoothly. "Mr. Johnson would like documentation of these alleged gifts, as he considers them to have been gifts with no expectation of repayment." Now I was truly angry. Of course they were gifts, given to support what I thought was a loving marriage, before I discovered my son-in-law was cheating with my other daughter. "Nevertheless, if you intend to make any claim on those funds, tell Marcus I'll see him in court," I interrupted, "and tell him to stay away from my daughter. She's under doctor's orders to avoid stress, and he is nothing but stress right now." I hung up before the lawyer could respond, my hands shaking with rage. Now Marcus was threatening to sue me, after everything I had done for him? When I returned to Nia's room, I found her sitting up, looking slightly better than the previous day. "Mom," she said immediately, "I need to ask you something." "What is it, sweetheart?" I sat beside her, my heart still racing from the lawyer's call. "Do you think I should try to talk to Zara?" she asked, her voice small. "To understand why, how she could do this to me." The question caught me off guard. I had expected anger, not this vulnerable uncertainty. "I don't think that's a good idea right now," I said carefully. "You need to focus on staying calm for the baby." "But she's my sister," Naya whispered, tears forming again. "My little sister. We shared everything growing up. How could she do this? Was she always jealous of me? Did I do something to hurt her?" My heart broke hearing Nia try to find reasons, to make sense of a betrayal that had no justification. "This is not your fault," I said firmly. "Nothing you did could justify what they did." "Marcus wants to see me," she said, changing the subject abruptly. "He's been texting. Says we need to talk about the baby. What do you want?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral despite my simmering anger toward Marcus. Naya closed her eyes, one hand resting on her belly. "I don't know. Part of me never wants to see him again. But this is still his child. And I still love him, Mom. How pathetic is that? After everything, I still love him." I took her hand, choosing my words with care. "It's not pathetic. Love doesn't disappear overnight, even when people hurt us terribly. but loving someone doesn't mean you have to let them keep hurting you. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed with a text. She glanced at it and her face crumpled. "It's Zara," she whispered. "She says she's coming to the hospital, that she needs to explain, that it's not what I think." My anger flared. "I'll handle this," I said, standing up. "You rest." In the hospital lobby, I found Zara pacing nervously. When she saw me, she rushed forward, her face streaked with tears. "Mom," she began, reaching for me. I stepped back, my expression hard. "Don't mom me. You have no right to be here. Please," she begged. "I need to explain to Nia. She's not answering my calls or texts." "Explain what?" I demanded. "We all saw the video. We all know you've been having an affair with her husband for a year, while she was trying to get pregnant, while I was paying for their house repairs. It's more complicated than that," Zara insisted. "Marcus and I don't want to hear it," I cut her off. "Nia is under doctor's orders to avoid stress. You are nothing but stress right now." "I'm her sister," Zara cried, drawing looks from others in the lobby. "A sister doesn't sleep with her sister's husband," I said coldly. "A sister doesn't betray family like that. You stopped being her sister the moment you decided your desires were more important than her happiness." Zara flinched as if I'd slapped her. "You don't understand," she whispered. "I love him. And what about Nia? What about your nephew or niece? Did you think about them at all while you were destroying their family?" Fresh tears spilled down Zara's cheeks. "I never meant for anyone to get hurt. But they did get hurt. Nia almost lost the baby because of the shock. Do you understand that? Your selfishness nearly cost your sister her child." Zara covered her mouth, looking genuinely horrified. "I didn't know. Is the baby okay?" "For now," I said. "No thanks to you and Marcus." "Mom, please." She reached for my hand, which I jerked away. "I know what we did was wrong, but cutting me out completely isn't the answer. We're still family." The word family from her lips ignited something in me. "Family?" I repeated incredulously. "You betrayed your family in the worst possible way. You and Marcus took my love, my trust, and my financial support while lying to my face for a year. And now you want forgiveness? Now you want understanding?" "I'm not asking for forgiveness," Zara said quietly. "Not yet. I know it's too soon. I just want a chance to talk to Nia, to explain my side." "Your side?" I laughed bitterly. "There is no your side in this story, Zara. There's only betrayal." She stared at me, her expression shifting from pleading to something harder. "You never really understood me, did you, Mom? It was always Nia who was the perfect daughter. Nia who did everything right. Nia who deserved the best. Don't you dare try to blame this on me," I warned, my voice low and dangerous. "Your choices are your own, and right now you need to leave before I call security." Zara stood her ground. "I'm not leaving until I see Nia." "Yes, you are," I said firmly, gesturing to a nearby security guard who was already watching our tense exchange. "Nia doesn't want to see you, and after nearly causing her to lose the baby, you don't get to demand anything." The security guard approached. "Is everything okay here?" "No," I said clearly. "This woman is trying to disturb a patient who's under doctor's orders to avoid stress. She's been asked to leave and is refusing." Zara looked between me and the guard, desperation in her eyes. "She's my sister," she told the guard. "I just need to talk to her for 5 minutes." "Ma'am," the guard said professionally, "if the patient doesn't want visitors, I'll have to ask you to leave the premises." "This isn't over," Zara said to me as the guard escorted her toward the exit. "You can't keep us apart forever, Mom. Nia will want answers eventually." I watched her leave, my heart heavy with the realization that this fracture in our family might never truly heal. When I returned to Nia's room, she was sitting up straighter, a determined look on her face. "Did Zara leave?" she asked. I nodded. Security escorted her out. "I want to see Marcus," she said, her voice firmer than it had been since the shower. I stared at her in surprise. "Are you sure?" "The doctor said—" "I know what the doctor said," she interrupted, "but I can't start healing until I hear what he has to say. I need to look him in the eye, Mom." I wanted to protect her from more pain, but I recognized the resolve in her expression, the same determination I'd seen in the mirror the day before when I decided to play that video. "Okay," I said reluctantly. "I'll let him know, but I'm staying in the room with you." No, Nia said softly but firmly. I need to do this alone. Nia, Mom, she interrupted, you've protected me all my life. You exposed their affair to protect me, but this conversation needs to happen between just the two of us. It's the only way I'll get honest answers. I knew she was right, but the thought of leaving her alone with the man who had betrayed her made my stomach clench with anxiety. Fine, I conceded, but I'll be right outside the door. And if you need me, you just call. If you get upset, if your blood pressure rises, I'll be careful, she promised, for the baby. I called Marcus from the hallway, telling him Nia wanted to see him. He arrived 20 minutes later, looking nervous but relieved to be allowed in. She wants to talk to you alone, I told him, my voice icy. But I'll be right outside this door. If you upset her in any way that puts her or the baby at risk, I will make sure you never see either of them again. Marcus nodded solemnly. I understand. As he entered Nia's room, I took up my position in the hallway, my mind racing with all the things I wished I could say to him, all the ways I wanted to make him feel the pain he had caused my daughter. The minutes ticked by slowly. 10, 20, 30. I paced the hallway, straining to hear any sounds from inside the room, ready to rush in at the slightest sign of distress. After nearly an hour, the door opened and Marcus emerged. His eyes were red, his face drawn with what appeared to be genuine sorrow. He nodded to me once, then walked away without speaking. I hurried into the room to find Nia sitting calmly, her expression unreadable. Are you okay? I asked urgently, checking her monitors for any signs of distress. I'm okay, she said quietly. We talked. He answered my questions, and, I prompted when she didn't elaborate. Nia sighed deeply. And it's over. Our marriage is over. Despite everything, my heart ached for her. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Don't be, she said with surprising strength. He doesn't love me anymore. Maybe never truly did. But he promised to support the baby, to be a father even if he can't be a husband. And Zara? I asked hesitantly. A flash of pain crossed Nia's face. They claim they're in love. That they tried to fight it. That they never meant to hurt me. She laughed humorlessly, as if that makes it better. I sat beside her, taking her hand. What do you need? What can I do? I need to get out of this hospital, she said, determination in her voice. I need to start rebuilding my life. I need to focus on my baby. You'll come stay with me, I said immediately. For as long as you need. Nia nodded, squeezing my hand. Thank you, Mom. For everything. For the truth, even though it hurt. For being here now. As we sat together in the quiet hospital room, I realized that justice and healing were separate journeys. I had delivered justice with that video at the baby shower. Brutal, public justice. Now the harder work of healing would begin. The next week passed in a blur of medical appointments, legal consultations, and emotional fallout. Nia was released from the hospital after 3 days, with strict instructions to maintain bed rest at home for at least another week. I brought her to my house, setting up the guest room with everything she might need. The story of the baby shower confrontation had spread throughout our community, becoming the biggest scandal in recent memory. Everywhere I went, the grocery store, the pharmacy, even my own school, I could feel people watching, whispering. Some approached to express sympathy or offer help. Others kept their distance, perhaps uncomfortable with the public nature of our family drama. Marcus had hired a moving company to pack up Nia's things from their house. The boxes now sat in my garage, unopened. Nia couldn't face sorting through the remnants of her marriage just yet. He had also transferred $10,000 into her account as initial support for the baby, according to the note attached to the transfer. He's trying to buy his way out of guilt. I told Nia when she showed me the transaction on her phone. Maybe, she conceded, sitting propped up in bed with pillows supporting her back. But we'll need the money. And if he wants to support his child financially, I'm not going to stop him. Nia had hired a divorce attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia, who specialized in divorces involving pregnancy. We'll make sure your rights and the baby's rights are fully protected, Patricia had assured us during our initial consultation. I had taken a leave of absence from my job as principal to care for Nia. My assistant principal was handling day-to-day operations, but I still received constant calls and emails about school matters. Between those and caring for Nia, I had barely slept in days. As for Zara, she had continued her campaign to speak with Nia, sending daily texts and emails that went unanswered. She had left tearful voicemails, begging for a chance to explain. I had blocked her number on my own phone after she kept calling me too, unable to bear the sound of her voice making excuses for the inexcusable. 10 days after the baby shower, I was making lunch when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Marcus standing on my porch, looking uncomfortable but determined. Against my better judgment, I opened the door. "What do you want?" I asked coldly. "I need to speak with Nia about the divorce paperwork," he said, holding up a manila envelope. "Patricia said she sent it over, but I have some questions." "You could have called," I pointed out. "I tried. She's not answering my calls." I sighed, knowing I couldn't keep them apart forever, especially with divorce proceedings and a baby on the way. "Wait here." I went to Naya's room and found her reading a book on single parenting. "Marcus is at the door," I told her. "Says he has questions about the divorce paperwork." Nia looked up, her expression guarded. "I'll talk to him. Can you help me to the living room? I'm tired of being in this bed." I helped her to the sofa, arranging pillows behind her back and bringing her a glass of water before reluctantly letting Marcus in. "You have 15 minutes, I told him firmly. "Nia needs her rest." He nodded, then turned his attention to Nia. I moved to the kitchen, giving them a semblance of privacy while staying close enough to intervene if needed. Their conversation seemed civil at first. Discussions about asset division, the house, financial arrangements for the baby. But then I heard Nia's voice rise sharply. "You want a what?" she demanded. I moved closer, alert to her distress. "It makes sense," Marcus was saying. "The house is paid for. It has the nursery already set up. You and the baby should live there." "While you and Zara do what exactly?" Nia asked, her voice tight with controlled anger. Marcus hesitated, then said, "We'll find our own place. But the house should be yours and the baby's." "The house you and Zara were kissing in while I slept upstairs?" Nia's voice trembled. "The house my mother helped pay for? That house?" "It's a practical solution," Marcus insisted. "And it would mean you don't have to disrupt your life any more than necessary when the baby comes." I couldn't stay silent any longer. "Are you serious right now?" I stepped into the living room. "You think Nia wants to live in the house where you betrayed her? Where every room will remind her of your affair with her sister?" Marcus looked frustrated. "I'm trying to do the right thing here." "The right thing?" I laughed bitterly. "The right thing would have been not sleeping with your wife's sister. The right thing would have been honoring your marriage vows. Don't pretend you're being noble now." "Mom," Nia said quietly. "It's okay. I can handle this." I backed off slightly, but remained standing nearby, watchful. "Marcus," Nia said with remarkable composure, "I appreciate that you're trying to make arrangements for the baby, but I will not live in that house. Not now, not ever. You can buy me out of my share, and I'll find a new place. But this isn't negotiable," she said firmly. "And while we're setting boundaries, I need you to stop calling me multiple times a day. We can communicate through Patricia or via email about necessary matters related to the divorce and the baby. But I can't heal if you're constantly in my space." Marcus looked like he wanted to argue but thought better of it. "Fine," he conceded. "I'll have my lawyer contact Patricia about the house buyout." As he stood to leave, he hesitated, then asked, "Have you spoken to Zara at all?" The question ignited Nia's anger in a way nothing else had. "Are you seriously asking me that? If I've talked to my sister who was sleeping with my husband behind my back?" "She's devastated," Marcus said quietly. "She misses you." "Get out," Nia said, her voice deadly calm. "Get out of this house right now." Marcus left without another word, the door closing firmly behind him. I rushed to Nia's side, concerned about her blood pressure after the confrontation. "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" To my surprise, she smiled, a small determined smile. "I'm okay, Mom. Actually, I'm better than I have been in days." Standing up to him felt good. "You were incredible," I told her honestly. I've been thinking, she said, rubbing her belly absently. I can't keep living in limbo. I need to move forward, make concrete plans for the baby and me. What kind of plans? I asked, relieved to see this spark of determination. Well, first, I want to find my own place, somewhere new with no bad memories. And I want to go back to work next week, at least part-time. Sitting around dwelling on everything isn't helping. Are you sure that's not too soon? I worried. The doctor said bed rest for 2 weeks, which will be up on Monday, she pointed out. I'm not going to let Marcus and Zara take my career from me too. I couldn't argue with her reasoning. Whatever you decide, I'm here for you. I know, Mom, she said softly. You've always been there, even when your methods are a bit dramatic. I winced slightly, remembering the public confrontation I had orchestrated. Do you regret it? The way I exposed them? Nia considered the question seriously. Sometimes when I think about all those people witnessing my humiliation, she admitted. But then I remember that if you hadn't done it that way, I might have believed whatever story they came up with. I might have forgiven too easily. I might still be living a lie. Her words reassured me somewhat, though I still questioned my decision on difficult nights when sleep eluded me. That evening, as we were finishing dinner, the doorbell rang again. I looked through the peephole and felt a surge of anger. Zara stood on my porch, clutching a bouquet of flowers and what looked like a small gift bag. It's Zara, I told Nia, who was seated at the dining table. I'll send her away. No, Nia said after a moment. Let her in. Are you sure? I asked, concerned. You don't owe her any conversation. I know, Nia said firmly. But I can't move forward until I face her, until I understand why. Reluctantly, I opened the door. Zara looked surprised to have made it this far. Mom, she began. Nia's willing to see you, I said curtly. But if you upset her in any way, you're out, Zara nodded, stepping inside hesitantly. When she saw Nia at the table, she paused, emotions playing across her face. Guilt, relief, nervousness. Nia, she said softly. Thank you for seeing me. Nia didn't respond, just watched her sister with an unreadable expression. Zara approached slowly, placing the flowers and gift bag on the table. These are for you, and for the baby. Nia made no move to accept them. Why are you here, Zara? Zara took a deep breath. I needed to see you. To explain, to apologize, though I know an apology isn't enough. You're right, Nia said coldly. It isn't. I hovered nearby, ready to intervene if needed, as Zara sat across from her sister. I never meant for any of this to happen, Zara began. When you first started dating Marcus, I was happy for you. But then, about a year ago, we started talking more, just as friends at first. He would call me when you were working late just to chat. We found we had so much in common. Like a taste for betrayal? Nia asked sharply. Zara winced. We fought it, Nia. For months we tried to ignore our feelings. But there was this connection between us that wouldn't go away. So, instead of being honest with me, you both decided to lie and sneak around behind my back. While I was trying to get pregnant? The timing was terrible, Zara admitted. When you told us you were pregnant, we agreed to end things. But then... She trailed off. But then what? Nia prompted, her voice hard. Then we realized we were in love, Zara said quietly. And we made the terrible decision to wait until after the baby was born to tell you. We thought it would be easier that way, less stressful for you and the baby. How considerate, Nia said sarcastically. And all those times you came to my house, pretending to be excited about being an aunt. You were what? Imagining yourself in my place? Thinking about how you'd raise my child with my husband once I was out of the picture. No, Zara protested. It wasn't like that. I love you, Nia. You're my sister. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did hurt me, Nia said, her voice breaking slightly, in the worst possible way. I moved closer, concerned about Nia's rising emotion, but she gestured for me to stay back. I know, Zara whispered, tears streaming down her face. And I will regret that for the rest of my life. If I could take it back, but you can't, Nia interrupted. You can't take back the betrayal. You can't take back the lies. You can't undo what you did. What can I do? Zara asked desperately. How can I make this right? Nia looked at her sister for a long moment. You can't make this right, Zara. Some things can't be fixed. You and Marcus destroyed something precious. Not just my marriage, but our sisterhood. Our family. Please don't say that, Zara begged. We're still family. We're still sisters. Are we? Nia asked quietly. Because from where I'm sitting, a sister doesn't sleep with her sister's husband. A sister doesn't participate in a year-long deception. A sister puts family before her own desires. Zara had no response to that. Just more tears. I want you to leave now, Nia said, her voice steady despite the emotion in her eyes. I've heard enough. Nia, please. I said leave, Nia repeated firmly. I need time and space, Zara, a lot of it. Zara stood, wiping her tears. I understand. But please know that I'm here when you're ready to talk again, whether that's next week or next year or... She couldn't finish the sentence. As I showed Zara to the door, she turned to me. Mom, I know you hate me right now, and you have every right to, but please don't cut me off completely. I've lost so much already. You made choices, Zara, I said, unmoved by her tears. Choices have consequences. And right now, my priority is Nia and my grandchild, not your feelings. After she left, I returned to find Nia staring at the flowers and gift bag Zara had left behind. Do you want me to throw those away? I asked gently. Nia sighed deeply. No, the flowers are pretty, and I'm curious what's in the bag. She opened it and pulled out a small stuffed elephant, the same kind she and Zara had both loved as children. Attached was a note. I remember you always wanted your baby to have one of these. I'm so sorry for everything. Love always, Z. Nia stared at the toy for a long moment, then set it aside without comment. I'm tired, Mom. I think I'll go to bed early. As I helped her back to her room, I noticed a new resolve in her posture. Seeing them both today was hard, she admitted as she settled into bed. But necessary. Now I know exactly where I stand, and what I need to do next, which is, I asked, focus on myself and my baby, she said firmly. Let go of the anger and pain before it consumes me. Find a new path forward, without Marcus, and for now, without Zara. I sat on the edge of her bed, stroking her hair as I had when she was a child. You're stronger than I ever imagined, I told her truthfully, and your baby is lucky to have you as a mother. As Nia drifted off to sleep, I found myself thinking about family, how we create it, how we damage it, and how sometimes we must rebuild it from the ashes of betrayal. 2 days later, I was reviewing school budget reports at the kitchen table when I heard a crash from Nia's room, followed by a cry of pain. I rushed in to find her doubled over on the floor beside the bed, clutching her stomach. The baby, she gasped. Something's wrong. It hurts so much. I helped her up, grabbed her hospital bag, and rushed her to the car. Hold on, sweetheart, I said, trying to stay calm as I drove. We'll be there soon. At the hospital, the nurses immediately recognized Nia from her previous stay. 32 weeks pregnant. History of preterm labor concerns, one said, as they wheeled her toward the maternity ward. I called Nia's doctor, Dr. Reynolds, who arrived quickly. After examining Nia, her expression turned serious. The placenta is beginning to separate, she explained. It's called placental abruption. We need to monitor you very closely, Nia. If it gets worse, we may need to deliver the baby early. But it's too soon, Nia said, panic in her voice. I'm only 32 weeks. Babies born at 32 weeks have a very good chance, Dr. Reynolds assured her. But we're going to try to keep that baby inside as long as possible. Complete bed rest, constant monitoring. As the nurses set up monitors and IV lines, I stepped into the hallway to call Esther and update her on the situation. When I returned, Nia looked at me with fear in her eyes. Mom, should we call Marcus? She asked. He is the father. Despite my personal feelings about Marcus, I knew Nia was right. I'll call him, I said, stepping out again. Marcus answered on the first ring. Amara, is everything okay? Nia's in the hospital, I said without preamble. There are complications with the pregnancy. The doctor says they might need to deliver the baby early. I'm on my way, he said immediately. Which hospital? I gave him the information, then added reluctantly, Nia asked me to call you. She wants you here. Thank you, he said, sounding genuinely grateful. I'll be there in 20 minutes. True to his word, Marcus arrived shortly after, looking deeply concerned. I met him in the waiting area, giving him a brief update on Nia's condition before leading him to her room. Nia looked small and vulnerable in the hospital bed, surrounded by beeping monitors. When she saw Marcus, her expression was a complex mix of emotions: relief, sadness, lingering anger. Hey, he said softly, approaching her bedside. How are you feeling? Scared, she admitted. They say the baby might come early. Marcus took her hand cautiously, as if expecting her to pull away. When she didn't, he said, I'm here. Whatever you need. I watched them from the doorway, torn between wanting to protect Nia from further hurt and recognizing that she needed Marcus's support right now, not as her husband, but as the father of her child. I'll give you two some time, I said, stepping out into the hallway. I was sitting in the waiting area, scrolling through work emails to distract myself, when I felt someone sit beside me. Looking up, I was startled to see Zara. Before you say anything, she said quickly, holding up a hand. Marcus called me. He thought I should know about the baby. I'm not here to upset Nia. I just want to know if she and the baby are okay. I wanted to tell her to leave, but the genuine concern in her eyes stopped me. Despite everything, she was still my daughter, and this baby was still her niece or nephew. The placenta is separating from the uterine wall, I explained clinically. It can be dangerous for both mother and baby. They're monitoring her closely, but they may need to deliver early. Zara's hand flew to her mouth. Oh God, is it because of the stress? From what happened at the baby shower? The question had been haunting me too. The doctor says these things sometimes just happen, I said. But stress doesn't help. Zara nodded, guilt written across her face. I never thought, she began, then stopped. I know you don't want to hear my excuses, but please believe I never wanted anything bad to happen to Nia or the baby. We sat in uncomfortable silence for a moment before she spoke again. I know I have no right to ask, but can I see her? Just for a minute? That's not my decision to make, I said honestly. If Nia wants to see you, I won't stop it. But I won't pressure her either. Fair enough, Zara conceded. Will you at least tell her I'm here? That I'm thinking of her? I nodded, standing up. I'll tell her. When I entered Nia's room, Marcus was still there, now discussing baby names with Nia in what appeared to be a civil conversation. Zara's here, I said simply. In the waiting room. She'd like to see you if you're up for it. Nia looked surprised, then thoughtful. Did you call her? She asked Marcus. He nodded. I thought she should know what's happening. She is family. Nia was quiet for a moment, one hand resting on her belly. Then she sighed. Tell her she can come in, but just for a minute. I don't have the energy for anything intense right now. I returned to the waiting room and brought Zara back with me. She entered Nia's room hesitantly, keeping her distance from the bed. Thank you for letting me see you, she said softly. How are you feeling? Like I might have this baby way too early, Nia answered honestly. The doctors are concerned. Zara's eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry, Nia, for everything. If anything happens to you or the baby because of what we did... Stop, Nia interrupted. I didn't let you come in to hear more apologies. They don't change anything. Then why did you let me come in? Zara asked. Nia looked at her sister for a long moment. Because if something does go wrong, if the baby comes too early, I don't want regrets. I don't want to look back and think I kept family away during a crisis, no matter what happened between us. The word family hung in the air between them, a recognition that despite the betrayal, despite the pain, the bonds of sisterhood were not completely severed. Thank you, Zara whispered. The moment was interrupted by a sudden, sharp beeping from one of the monitors. Nia gasped, clutching her stomach. Something's wrong, she said, panic in her voice. It hurts. It really hurts. I lunged for the call button as Marcus rushed to Nia's side. A nurse hurried in, followed quickly by Dr. Reynolds. Her BP is spiking, the nurse reported, checking the monitor. Fetal heart rate is dropping. We need to get her to the OR now, Dr. Reynolds decided immediately. The abruption is getting worse. We need to deliver this baby. Everything happened in a blur after that. Nia was wheeled toward the operating room for an emergency C-section. Marcus, as the father, was allowed to accompany her after quickly donning surgical scrubs. Zara and I were left in the waiting room, both terrified for different reasons. Despite our fractured relationship, we found ourselves sitting side by side, united in our concern for Nia and the baby. "This is all my fault," Zara whispered after a while. "If I hadn't—" "Stop," I said, echoing Nia's earlier command. "This isn't helping anyone right now." We fell into tense silence, the minutes stretching into what felt like hours. Finally, nearly 2 hours later, Marcus appeared in the waiting room doorway, still in surgical scrubs. His face was pale but smiling. "It's a boy," he announced. 4 pounds, 3 ounces. Small, but the doctors say he's strong. They've taken him to the NICU for monitoring, but his vitals are good." "And Nia?" I asked urgently. "She lost a lot of blood, but she's stable now," he said, the relief evident in his voice. "They're finishing up the surgery. She's going to be okay." I felt tears of relief flooding my eyes. Despite everything, the betrayal, the public confrontation, the family fracture, new life had entered our world. My grandson had arrived. "Can we see them?" Zara asked hesitantly. "Nia will be in recovery for a while," Marcus explained. "But they said we can visit the baby in the NICU,